Hey everybody, it's Tony. I'm going to put this video on Facebook. It's going to be maybe like 10 minutes long. I hope you watch it. I'm going to play this video, and it's 3 minutes long, and it's a news station reporting on something subject that I want to talk about. And so watch the video.
New tonight. Here's a tough question for you. Is the government spraying dangerous chemicals over us from planes? Some people believe there's a sinister top-secret mission that's making us sick. CBS Atlanta's Jeff Cherico asked the tough question, is this true or just an overblown conspiracy theory?
You've seen them in the sky, those white lines left by planes. Conspiracy theorists call some of them chemtrails. They think they're full of toxins, damaging the environment and our health.
It definitely angers me. Some days there's only 4, some days there's 8, some days the whole sky is just enveloped in just milky white.
From the balcony of her Buckhead condo, Ali Valente gets a clear view of what she believes is a secret government plot that's poisoning us. You look down, though, and you look at the people just moving along and going about their business, and do you feel like,
how can you not look up and see what's going on?
when Ali began noticing a bunch of white lines in the sky blocking the sun, she searched for answers online, and that's where she found information about a conspiracy called chemtrails.
These are literally crimes against humanity, nature and humanity.
Over Skype, I spoke with chemtrail researcher Michael Murphy at his home in California. He produced a documentary about the so-called chemtrail cover-up. He believes there are chemicals in these trails, including aluminum, that are making us sick.
We've seen aluminum-related illness go through the roof.
Murphy says tests show high levels of these chemicals in our rain and soil. So we're seeing a major increase in these chemicals, but how do we know they are coming from planes?
We looked into any other source and we couldn't find one.
So why is the government supposedly doing this? Theorists speculate the heavy metals reflect the sun's rays, cooling the earth and combating global warming. So how can you tell the difference between chemtrails and typical plane contrails?
A contrail dissipates and evaporates pretty quickly. A chemtrail lingers.
But Georgia Tech weather researcher Dr. Jim St. John says he doesn't buy the chemtrail theory. He points out that some normally occurring contrails do linger.
Contrails can take on different appearances depending upon different factors.
He believes more lines in the sky is due simply to more air traffic. And although the U.S. government says it isn't clouding the skies, one thing is crystal clear. A denial won't be enough to convince a growing number of chemtrail believers. The U.S. government has issued a statement attempting to debunk what it calls the chemtrail hoax. We posted that on our website. Go to cbsatlanta.com, click on the Tough Questions tab. Now, we know a lot of you...
Okay, so some of you know me a little bit. Some of you know me a lot. Some of you are really close friends I've had for a long time. I've been talking about this. Some people know I've been talking about this. Some people don't. Some people have blown me off. Some people called me a conspiracy theorist, whatever. Listen, I watch this every day. I watch it every day. The planes go, they just like make circles, you know. When they lace up the sky, they go up, they spray like a big stream across the sky, then they come back down, they fly underneath of the clouds, okay? And then they go right back up and do it again, because you know how they have to stay moving. They have to keep spraying this stuff. It's like, you know, if there is weather modification, they're really shitty at it. They're really bad about it. Okay, and sorry for my language, but these people are really bad at it. They're getting better at it, but here's the deal. They're spraying things like aluminum into the air, barium salts, you know, silver iodide. They determined that this silver iodide was, it was one of those things that it wasn't going to affect the health, and you'd have to have so much of it before it would affect your health. So, you know, the way that they opened the gateway to doing this stuff is they were using things that, their favorite thing is talking about parts per million, parts per billion, things like that. Listen, poison is poison. And if you go and take your airplanes up in the sky and you spray something that's hazardous to humans in the air every day, eventually you're going to poison them. People have been getting sick, randomly getting sick, weird kinds of ways. Weird respiratory illnesses, congested all the time. Some people have been getting dizzy. Some people have been having strokes. More and more people are having Alzheimer's. There's all kinds of things happening, and we cannot explain it away by saying, oh, well, that's just what happens, or maybe that's just a thing that's happening. If there are things happening like this, people getting Alzheimer's, people having kids with autism, listen, I feel bad if you have a family member that has Alzheimer's or autism, okay? I feel bad. If you have a child that's special needs, believe me, I understand. I understand. I'm compassionate. I'm a compassionate person. I'm a real person. I care about people. I care about us. Look at this. Winter seating, silver iodide. Look, this is how they opened the gate for this. In 1949, they sprayed silver iodide into the air, and it made it more likely to rain. Okay, so they sold it to They sold the idea to farmers, and farmers would get these little machines. And look down here, they would get this little machine, and that little machine would eject the silver iodide up into the air, and it would increase the chance for rain. However, over the years, farmers were like, this doesn't really work very well. I mean, we're sitting here spraying it on the ground, or that later on they came up with these little flare things that they would attach to the airplanes, and so they could go up a little bit higher and they could spray the flares, but they would have to go and do flare after flare after flare after flare after flare just to make it rain. And they would make it rain, but so naturally these companies and stuff were trying to find better ways to do this, and so they started adding other things to it. And we've got these people, we've got this school of thought out there that somehow they don't care. We have scientists out there that don't really care about human life, and they think that it's collateral damage or something if people get hurt by some of the things that they're putting in the sky. Or they sell it to somebody by saying, look, this ain't going to hurt you in this small amount. Well, listen, they're doing it all over the country every day. And the reason why I'm making this video is because right now there's all this snowstorm and shit in the Midwest, okay? And here in Alabama, somebody told me yesterday, they said, oh, it's supposed to be some really bad weather, and look, when I was growing up, if weather was coming, usually you would see it from miles away. The storm system would move in. You could watch the clouds grow. You could watch them as the convection happened, and the clouds would grow and expand, and you could watch that, and you'd be like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Well, these people, they go up there and they spray stuff in the air, and they spray this stuff and they blanket the sky with it, and then guess what they do? They take this guy right here, okay, and they zap it, okay? This thing, it's a high frequency radio waves, and they can direct these radio waves where they want to up at the ionosphere. And listen, we know from the meteorite that hit, when the meteorite came to hit the atmosphere, it was moving so fast, but the atmosphere is like it's kind of like jumping off a cliff into the water. You know, if you jump high enough, when you land it hurts really bad. So same thing goes for this radio wave. They shoot it up at the ionosphere. It excites the particles, and they do all kinds of things. They can do all kinds of things with it. Okay? I'm not saying that these people aren't smart, but they're too smart for their own good, and they're operating without any kind of regulation or anything. And they've been doing it for a while, and nobody knows what the long-term impact of this is going to be. Please, God, research Vietnam. They sprayed Agent Orange on the people. They're still 40 years later having children that are mutated and stuff. Listen, we have to stop this, y'all. You've got to pull your heads out of your butt, my friends, and all of you. And you have to be aware of what's going on, man. Look up in the sky. And we need to have an open dialogue about it, and we don't need to not talk about it. If you have kids, look at your kids. Look at them and tell me if you care about your kids that you're going to let them be poisoned. If they were putting poison in their little milks at school, and you found out about it, you would do whatever you got to do to make that stop. Well, in Beijing, China, the little kids can't even go outside because of this stuff. And they're telling them it's smog. Do you all understand that we have moved a long way in technology? And even though we're burning all this fuel and stuff out of cars, we've gotten to where our cars and the things that we use and burn fuel are not as dirty as what they used to be. We did clean it up. Okay? Look at the sky here. Look at this. You've got to know. You've got to know that these people are actively modifying the weather. Okay? There are, and it's amazing, now we're having all these superstorms and stuff like that. Well, let me tell you, if these people are out there doing weather modification and somebody dies in the middle of this weather modification because they created a flood or whatever that they did, okay? Whatever they did, if they created a flood and it killed somebody, as far as I'm concerned, they are murderers. Okay? And even some of the worst criminal would say, hey, you know what? Murderers are bad. The worst thief will tell you, oh, well, I might steal some stuff, but I'm not going to murder anybody. Because murder is bad. So if they're out there doing weather modification and they murder somebody, then listen, y'all, we need to be aware of what's going on, and we need to actively try to stop it. I don't have all the answers, okay? Don't tell me, hey, what do I do? I'm not exactly sure what to do, but I do know this. You all have to admit that this is happening. If you don't admit it's happening, we're not going to be able to do anything, okay? Do you think, do anybody that knows me, even the littlest bit, do you think that I want to be absorbed into this stuff? I mean, I'm just like you. I would rather be sitting on the beach somewhere, drinking a cold beer or something, doing something, just doing anything but working all day and watching the environment go to hell and watching kids be born with autism and old people having Alzheimer's. Okay? I don't want that to happen. Anybody that does want that to happen is sick. And anybody that just lets that happen or creates a situation where that happens, they're criminals. Okay? Here's a video. This video, one of the guys that was the thing that maybe inspired that little CBS thing is this video. What in the world are they spraying? Well, they have a part 2 to that also. Y'all need to use your computers, get on the internet. You need to get on the internet and you need to do this. You need to do a little bit of research, okay? Don't take my word for it. Here, watch this. Oh, man, I got like 30 seconds to do this. All right. The Beijing tickle. Look at this. Look at the sky here. There's only like a few seconds, but look, you see this? Do you see this mist in the sky? You see this mist? Listen, y'all, that's not smog, okay? I came from California. I visited my family there. I know what smog looks like. That's not it. This is weather modification, people. Look at what they're wearing. They're walking around wearing masks and stuff. Y'all listen, share this video.